The Journey of Resilience and Triumph, narrated by Alex Carter. Introduction: The Early Struggles.
Hello, my name is Alex Carter. I'm going to share my story with you, a story of struggle, perseverance, and ultimately triumph. It's a journey that began when I was just 13 years old and continues to this day. I stand here at 30, having achieved more than I ever thought possible. Growing up, my family didn't have much. We lived in a small, cramped apartment in a working-class neighborhood. My parents worked tirelessly, but it was never enough to make ends meet. By the time I was 13, I knew I had to step up and help. So, I started working after school and on weekends, doing odd jobs, delivering newspapers, mowing lawns, and even helping out at a local grocery store. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work, and it taught me the value of $1. At 16, I had a moment that changed everything. I was working at a small car wash, scrubbing cars under the scorching sun. One day, a man in a sleek suit pulled up in a luxury car. As I washed his car, he struck up a conversation with me. He asked about my life, my dreams, and my plans for the future. I told him I didn't have any, I was just trying to help my family get by. He looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "Alex, you're smart, hardworking, and determined. But if you don't start thinking bigger, you'll be stuck in this cycle forever. Education and smart investments are your ticket out." That conversation lit a fire in me. I realized that if I wanted to change my life, I had to start thinking long term. I began to study harder in school, and I started reading books about finance, business, and personal development. I was determined to break the cycle of poverty that had held my family back for so long. The next few years were grueling. I worked part-time jobs to support my family while also focusing on my education. I didn't have the luxury of just being a student. I had to juggle both. There were days when I was so exhausted that I thought about giving up, but I kept reminding myself of that man's words. I knew I had to keep pushing forward. When I graduated high school, I didn't have the money to go to college, so I took a full-time job at a local warehouse. But I didn't stop learning. I enrolled in online courses, read voraciously, and started saving every penny I could. I knew that if I wanted to build a better future, I had to invest in myself. At 22, I took a leap of faith. I had saved up enough money to enroll in a community college where I studied business and finance. It was tough. I was working full-time and going to school at night, but I was determined to make it work. I knew that education was my ticket to a better life. During this time, I also started dabbling in the stock market. I didn't have much money to invest, but I was careful and strategic. I read everything I could about investing. And I started small, putting a little money into index funds and blue-chip stocks. Over time, those small investments began to grow. By the time I was 25, I had graduated with my degree and landed a job at a financial firm. It wasn't a high-paying position, but it was a foot in the door. I worked hard, learned everything I could, and slowly climbed the ladder. At the same time, I continued to invest wisely, and my portfolio began to grow. I also started a side hustle, a small online business selling products I believed in. It wasn't easy balancing a full-time job and a side business, but I was determined to create multiple streams of income. I knew that relying on a single paycheck wasn't enough to secure my future. Today at 30, I can proudly say that I've achieved more than I ever thought possible. I've built a successful career in finance. My investments have grown significantly, and my side business is thriving. I've been able to buy a home for my family, and I've even started a scholarship fund to help other young people who are struggling to make ends meet. But more than the financial success, I've found fulfillment in knowing that I've broken the cycle of poverty that once held my family back. I've proven to myself that with hard work, determination, and a willingness to learn, anything is possible. If there's one thing I've learned on this journey, it's this: your circumstances don't define your future. I started with nothing. No money, no connections, no advantages. But I had a dream, and I was willing to work for it. I made mistakes along the way, but I never gave up. So if you're out there struggling, feeling like the odds are stacked against you, I want you to know this: you have the power to change your life. It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight. But if you're willing to put in the work to keep learning and to never give up, you can achieve greatness. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Take that step today and keep moving forward. Your future is waiting for you. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to chase your dreams, no matter where you're starting from.